Howdy y'all, nan-alive here. I'm just gonna give you a tip that you've probably heard many times, but I'm gonna elaborate a little bit further and make the tip a little bit more complex. So for years I've been using the same Ridgeline. It became my favorite one, and I've modified it and added to it in order to make it more convenient every time I've used it a subsequent time. So like you've probably seen many times, your permanent loop on the end is just a bowline. Fixing prusiks onto it, I've actually got 3 on here, 2 specific ones and then 1 specific one, and then I ball it up very similar to everything you've seen before. And I also have I don't know if you can see that peg in there, so I keep a toggle with it. So real quick, I'll just deploy it and you'll see how it goes. So the first thing to do is pull your prusiks out of the way, and you can see there that I have that toggle hanging. So you wrap it around your tree, pull your ridgeline through, insert your toggle, and when you pull it tight, the toggle makes it stay. And when you want to go quick release by pulling your toggle out, and the little lash that I have to it keeps my toggle in place. There's my prusiks, and I'll show you my little more advanced way to make those here in a bit. This is just like you've always seen. I use a hay knot. I think some people call it a trucker's hitch, but I learned a trucker's hitch is a more complicated thing, and I learned this called a hay knot. So whatever you call it, that's what I use. Okay, my prusiks I have on here. These 2 outer ones are identical. Those are the ones that are gonna attach to my tarp. I'm gonna put a lash through my tarp with a toggle and pull it out tight, and it's not gonna come back this way. And I'm gonna do the other one on that side, and it's gonna pull it tight. The tarp is gonna go over top of this middle one here. I guess this middle third one. And this is what I'm gonna use to hang things on when I'm in my shelter. So usually it's my headlamp. I fold the headband part, I stick it through, and the little plastic adjuster mechanism kind of lashes on that, and then I can flex the headlamp to point kind of the direction I want it. So that's how that works. Now the biggest difference that you've seen is probably this third toggle, or this third prusik, and the toggle. So I'll elaborate on the toggle a little bit. All right, if you can see what I did there, I just lashed one of the filaments from the 550 cord, from the paracord, onto the end of a twig. This one happens to be manufactured and perfectly smooth, and I just whittled the tip down. Used whipping to do it on this one. It doesn't really matter what method you use. I also coated it with some glue so it wouldn't slip or change. And then the way I attached it to my loop here, the way I attached it to my bowline is just through the knot itself, and I'll give a demonstration of that. Super easy. Alright, once you've got your toggle made with your little lashing line onto it, all I did on this one was I did a arbor knot with filament from a paracord onto the end of my toggle twig. I put some glue on it so it wouldn't slide or change, And then I did a figure 8 knot and welded the end for a stopper knot on one side, and it didn't take that much line. So what you see here is almost the whole length that I actually used, just a little bit longer for each of the little knots. And you know how a bowline goes. So this guy line here has a bowline in it already. Now if you can tell how the configuration of the bowline goes, and it doesn't really matter which one I use as far as the you know, how the lines go weaving in and out for the knot. All I'm going to do is loosen one of them. So for this demonstration, I'm going to loosen that one right there just a little bit. See if I can mark it for you. So it's going to be right after the tip of my finger there. Okay, I don't know if you can tell, but I just loosened it a little bit. There's no big deal going on there. And I'm taking the stopper knot end of my little line that I have on my peg, and I'm just going to stick it through that looser part of the knot until that stopper knot pops out on the other side, like that. There's the stopper knot, and then I'm just going to tighten it again. I'm going to tighten it just like I would any bowline, all directions. And you can see how it's kind of caught through there. Well, now when I pull this at all, that stopper knot is going to catch it. And that's why I want the bowline knot to be super tight so it doesn't come out. All right, when you're putting your ridgeline away, when I'm putting my ridgeline away, what I'm going to do is push all of my prussiks down to the end of the bowline and let that toggle peg stay out of the way. And then I'm going to drape it over the back of my hand with all of that mess hanging on the back of my hand. I'm pinching it with the web of my thumb, and I'm arching my hand back as far as I can. So my hand flexes that way as far as I can get it. Still pinching with my thumb. Then I wrap around my pinky, and then around my thumb, and this time I'm actually trying to pin that line down. So, see, I'm crossing over the front of it in the middle of my hand. I'm trying to come up above it and pin it down there. So now I can open my hand fully wide, and the line is pinning it down, not my thumb and index finger anymore, or the web of my thumb. So then I'm just going to keep on going around here until I get my line almost all bundled up. When I get to towards the end where I need enough to wrap it up with, then there's something I'm going to do, another tip I'll give. Okay, so right about there, something like that. So what I'm going to do is with my index finger, because I ended coming around my pinky, I'm going to use my index finger to pin that down and wrap it back around my index finger. That makes a shorter loop than all the ones that are around my thumb. So I'm going to pin that real tight so it doesn't slip, wiggle my fingers out. Now here's where that next tip comes in. As I'm wrapping this around, I'm not just gonna hold it tight and let it slide through my fingers. I'm actually going to roll it as it goes so that it doesn't have a twist in it. So this part of it that I'm wrapping around does not have a twist. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to exaggerate. My hand, I'm gonna roll it as I go. Roll it as I go. And then when I get to the end of that line, hopefully I still have that shorter loop that I made with my index finger it's that one. And I'm just going to stick the end through there. Now I'm not done just yet. I want to make this so it doesn't come apart in my bag and make a knot and a mess. So this is the short one that I made with my index finger. If I pull one side of it, nothing's going to happen because it's where the wrapping started. If I pull the other side of it, I'm going to see one of these lines move. And I don't know if you can tell, but can you see it moving? And it's also getting shorter there. So that's the one that I'm going to actually grab and pull the other way to make that loop, that shorter loop that I made with my index finger, grab that tail. And that one that I pulled is now the most secure line loop in this bundle that's not less likely to come out with pulling on it. Well, now you have your toggle peg hanging, and you don't want that going around poking holes in your gear or getting tangled up in other stuff. So what do you do? You just insert it into the wrapping. Okay, so obviously you just figured out that the more you wrap that, the more it covers that up and the more you have to hide your toggle peg. Good tip, eh?